Can't Hurt Me Chapter 7 Summary: The Most Powerful Weapon. By David Goggins. Expanded, detailed summary for deep understanding. Introduction. Chapter 7 of Can't Hurt Me, titled The Most Powerful Weapon, focuses on the idea that the mind is the strongest tool any human possesses. Physical strength, talent, resources, or background matter far less than the ability to control and strengthen the mind. Goggins reveals how he used deliberate mental conditioning to transform his life from an insecure, abused kid into a Navy SEAL and world-class endurance athlete. This chapter shows that most people perform far below their actual potential because the mind convinces them to stop early. The mind's job is survival, not growth, and therefore it constantly tells you to slow down, quit, avoid pain, and stay comfortable. To overcome this natural limitation, you must build calluses on your mind, facing discomfort and pushing through it until resilience becomes your default. 1. The mind is a weapon. Goggins begins this chapter by explaining that life's toughest battles are won or lost in the mind before they even begin. Your body follows the commands of your thinking. A weak, fearful, doubtful mind produces a limited life. A strengthened, disciplined, calloused mind turns you into a person who becomes unstoppable. Goggins says that people often look at him and think he's built differently, but in reality he was not born exceptional. He built himself through brutal mental training. He learned early that the mind, once conditioned properly, is a limitless weapon. He uses the analogy of a mental weapon factory. You forge the blade through hardships. You sharpen it through discipline. You protect it by eliminating excuses. You strengthen it by seeking discomfort. The more suffering he embraced, the stronger his mental weapon became. 2. The 40% Rule. This chapter introduces one of the most famous concepts from the book, the 40% Rule. According to Goggins, when your mind tells you you're done, you're actually only at 40% of your true capacity. Your mind acts like a governor, a limiter, restricting your performance to keep you safe. This biological mechanism evolved to prevent humans from danger, exhaustion, and extreme environments. But in modern life, this governor stops us from achieving greatness. Goggins explains, you think you're tired, right arrow, you're actually only 40% tired. You think you've given everything, right arrow, you've only scratched the surface. You think you should quit, your body still has 60% more capability. This rule changed his life because it made him realize that his mind was lying to him every time things got difficult. When you push past the 40%, the real growth begins. That is where discipline, resilience, and identity start transforming. 3. Goggins' experience in ultra-endurance races. To prove the power of the mind, Goggins shares stories from his extreme endurance competitions, especially ultramarathons and 100-mile races. During many races he suffered stress fractures, muscle tears, kidney issues, dehydration, unbearable pain. Yet he continued running mile after mile by using mental breakthroughs instead of physical strength. He didn't rely on talent or athletic background, he had none. He relied purely on the power of self-talk, emotional control, and pain management. Goggins says, when your mind gets stronger, the body follows. The body becomes the slave and the mind becomes the master. He repeatedly pushed beyond the limits that doctors, trainers, and even fellow athletes thought were humanly possible. His performances were not physical miracles, they were mental victories. 4. Callousing the mind. Just like hands become tougher with repeated friction, the mind becomes tougher through repeated hardship. This process is called callousing the mind. Every time you face discomfort, push through fear, do something difficult, ignore excuses, silence negative self-talk, you add a mental callus. Calluses protect you from emotional and psychological damage the same way physical calluses protect your hands from pain. Goggins emphasizes that the mind does not get stronger by avoiding pain. In fact, avoiding challenges makes your mind weaker. To build mental calluses, you must choose discomfort daily until pain becomes familiar, not frightening. 5. Overcoming the voices in the mind. The mind hosts many voices: self-doubt, insecurity, fear, laziness, ego, emotional weakness. These voices appear strongest when you are pushing your limits. Goggins explains that these voices are natural survival mechanisms. Your brain wants comfort and certainty, but success demands discomfort and risk. He developed a system of aggressive self-talk and accountability to shut down the weak voices. He told himself, "Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Don't quit. You're stronger than this. You've been here before." This self-talk was not gentle motivation, it was an internal war. And he won it daily. He says, "You cannot negotiate with weakness, you destroy it." 6. The power of visualization. A major concept in this chapter is visualization. Goggins used visualization in 2 ways. 1. Visualizing success. He mentally rehearsed finishing a race, overcoming pain, achieving goals, winning battles, beating his old self. This created confidence before the challenge even began. 2. Visualizing the pain. Unlike normal people who avoid imagining difficulties, Goggins did the opposite. He visualized the suffering, the setbacks, the exhaustion, the discomfort. Why? Because when the actual pain arrived, he wasn't shocked. He was ready. He had mentally lived through it already. Visualization plus action equals mind power unlocked. 7. The cookie jar technique. Chapter 7 expands on a concept introduced earlier, the cookie jar. What is the cookie jar? It's a mental storage of all your past victories, tough situations you survived, difficult goals you achieved, painful moments you pushed through. Whenever Goggins felt like quitting or doubting himself, he mentally reached into the cookie jar and reminded himself, "You faced worse before and you won." This instantly gave him strength. Examples of cookies from Goggins' own life. Surviving childhood abuse. Completing Navy SEAL Hell Week. Running 100 miles with broken bones. Finishing Bud S as the only black man in his class. Each victory added power to his mental arsenal. Each memory became fuel. Your cookie jar builds mental identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who doesn't quit. 8. Pain as a teacher. Goggins believes that pain is the most honest and valuable teacher in life. Most people run from pain. High achievers study pain. Pain teaches resilience, self-control, patience, standards, self-awareness. Pain removes ego and forces growth. Pain shows who you are and who you can become. Goggins explains that pain is not the enemy. Comfort is the enemy. Pain is the doorway to your greatest potential. 9. Breaking the victim mindset. Goggins discusses the danger of the victim mindset. Something he personally struggled with due to his abusive childhood, racism, heartbreak, insecurity, and failure in school. He says, "Victims wait for help. Victims blame others. Victims avoid responsibility. Victims give up early." To unlock mental power, you must destroy the victim identity and replace it with a warrior identity. Goggins took full responsibility for his life, even for things that weren't his fault. This is what made him mentally indestructible. 10. Discipline equals freedom. Goggins emphasizes that the strongest minds are built through self-discipline, routine, repetition, consistency, structure. He says discipline is the foundation of a strong mind. Discipline gives you freedom from laziness, weakness, excuses, fear, failure. Discipline converts you into a mentally unstoppable person. 11. The chapter challenge, the 40% push. Every chapter in the book ends with a challenge. The challenge for chapter 7 is to push past your normal stopping point. Goggins instructs, identify something you normally quit early in exercise, work, studies, running, push-ups, cold showers, etc. When you feel like you're done, push 5–10% more. Repeat this consistently. Slowly increase your tolerance. This practice trains the mind to realize that discomfort does not equal danger. Over time, this changes your identity. You stop thinking like a quitter and start thinking like a warrior. The goal is to break the old mental limits and gradually build new ones. 12 key lessons from Chapter 7. Here are the most important takeaways. 1. The mind is the strongest weapon you have. Not your muscles, not your talent, not your resources. 2. You quit far before your body does. The limit is mental. The 40% rule is proof that you always have more left. 3. Pain is the pathway to mental strength. Avoiding pain leads to weakness. Embracing it builds resilience. 4. You must callous the mind. Face discomfort regularly until it stops scaring you. 5. Visualization is powerful. Imagine success but also imagine the struggle. You'll be ready for both. 6. The cookie jar is your internal fuel system. Use your past victories to power through current challenges. 7. Destroy the victim mindset. No excuses, no blaming. Full responsibility equals full freedom. 8. Discipline unlocks everything. A disciplined mind leads to an unstoppable life. Conclusion. Chapter 7 is one of the most powerful chapters in Can't Hurt Me. It teaches that the mind is the ultimate source of power, and anyone can train it through discipline, suffering, and deliberate mental conditioning. Goggins' message is simple but life-changing. You are capable of far more than you think. Your limits are not real. Your mind is lying to you. And the only way to discover who you truly are is to push past the point where most people quit. By applying the 40% rule, embracing discomfort, and building mental calluses, you unlock a version of yourself you never thought possible.